podcast is brought to you by the Association for Coaching, one of the world's leading international professional bodies, advancing coaching in business and society worldwide. I'm your host, Helena Clayton, and in this 6-part series, we're exploring love in coaching. With 25 years of working in leadership and organisational development, for the last 8 years, I've been researching, writing about, and running leadership programs and workshops exploring the role of love in leadership, in work, and beyond. And for this series, I brought together 6 amazing coaches as my guests, all of whom are strong advocates and pioneers in what they do, and how they think about and integrate love into their coaching. 3 of them are writing books about love. 1 has just submitted their master's thesis about love, and another talks so boldly about love to their international and very senior leadership audiences that it takes my breath away. So thank you for being here and for bringing your curiosity to this thought-provoking series at a time when the world needs love more than ever. So, today I'm delighted to be talking with Craig White, who I've been wanting to speak to for ages. And actually, this is our second attempt at it. Yeah. We tried a week or 2 ago, but we couldn't get the tech gods to work with us. So today we seem to have got things going, Craig. So yeah, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to see you again.
It is. And the tech gods are working with us, but the weather gods are also at work because I'm down in Sussex with fabulous sun, although wind. Craig's in Yorkshire where it's hammering down with rain. So you might be able to hear that in the background.
Yeah.
So I met Craig, I think, 10 years ago, something like that. We met on a workshop with a fabulous organisation called Celebration of Being. And they bring men and women together to do work to heal the wounds between the masculine and the feminine and between men and women. So it's really about integrating masculine, feminine, men and women. It was powerful work. And when I came to think about who I wanted to speak to for this series, I knew one of the threads I wanted to pull on was how men engaged with love in organisations, in the workplace, in coaching, and much further beyond. So Craig was the first person I reached out to because Craig is a seasoned, deeply experienced coach. He'll tell you more about who he is and what his work is in a moment. But he works exclusively with men. So we'll definitely talk about coaching and love, but we'll also talk about coaching plus love plus men. So Craig, would you kick us off by telling folks a little bit about who you are, what you do?
Yeah, it's great to see you again. Thanks for mentioning the time when we met on that beautiful men's workshop that I attended that was held by you beautiful women. It was deep into my own journey of self-discovery at the time. I'm a men's leadership coach. Sometimes I wear the hat of a high-performance coach. In professional rugby, that was my background. That was the first half of my career. I'm also an author-to-be and a speaker. And at the moment, my work is based predominantly around exclusive one-to-ones. I have been running group programs in the past. I do offer corporate team building workshops for some of my clients, but I'm really zoning in now on these one-to-ones. And within my one-to-ones with men, I usually attract men who are in the 40s and 50s, who've been relatively successful. A lot of them are CEOs, yet something has happened in their life. It could be the loss of a relative, it could be pain, it could be an illness, it could be an ultimatum from their wife and kids, or it could just be a real deep sense of knowing that maybe as they enter the next stage of life, that the answers are actually here, not in the world of control and building successful business finances and material possessions. So I really help men to, first and foremost, reveal their uniqueness as leaders. And secondly, I help men to redefine what leadership means to them in an ever-changing world. And love is definitely part of that equation, especially relational love, because we are being called on more than ever before as men to lead in the relational space, not only the space of controlling a business and an empire and gritting our teeth and moving towards that. We're really being drawn more than ever before into relational presence.
Thank you. We'll come back to that in a mo. So there's something around you work with men who've done the outer work. They may have got to a particular position, status, achievements, and the like. And the work now is their inner work, their personal growth, their inner work. And it sounds like you are superbly well positioned to do that work because you've done your own. So would you also say something about your own personal inner work that means you're really able to work with and hold these men when they're ready to do their work?
For sure, because that's an integral part. And I don't know about you, Helena, but what I find is whenever I have some kind of internal upgrade, I then attract clients that are looking for the same thing. It's weird and wonderful how that happens. So yeah, everything starts with me. I never used to say that when I was a kid. It was always somebody else's fault. And then about 15, 16 years ago, I had what was quite possibly the most significant month of my life. I went with my ex-wife on a very intensive month-long yoga retreat in Thailand, and it turned my life around and it shook me up, and I touched part of myself that I'd never touched before. Some of it was beautiful, expansive, blissful, loving, passionate, and some of it was dark and anxious and fearful, and there was grief and there was rage. And so that really planted the seed of an intense journey of self-discovery. So I've been on that journey ever since. Yeah, we've not got enough time in the day to tell you exactly everything I've done, but I've tried everything really. I've tried everything from yoga to meditation to silent meditation retreats, tantra, couples retreats, shadow work, psychodynamic role play, coaching, being coached by coaches myself, ongoing therapy for a number of years, and experimentation within the laboratory of life, which is intimate relationships. And that's really what I help my clients to do. I help them to turn the gaze inwards and realize that all the relationships outside of themselves, including people and nature and life itself, is really a reflection of how loving they are to their own internal state of being. That's really the essence of my work, really, although that doesn't always sell programs on social media. Really, when I reflect on the work I do with men and the work I do on myself, and it's another way of saying we do the outer work and then we do the inner work, is it's really that shift from head to heart. Because when men live a life driven by logic and reason and mental capacity and control, they can have a vision, assess where they're at, build steps, grit their teeth, and really grind towards it and build something that they think is successful. But the problem is, if it's all mental, they never get to feel it. They achieve a goal and it's what's next, what's next, what's next. It's only when men really take that journey from head into heart or head into body that they can start to feel love. In order for love to move through us, I believe we have to be able to have the capacity to feel. And if we live a life where we've become guarded and we've closed our heart and we've locked in and we've become really linear and restrictive in the way we live life, then the love or the life force or the eros, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't move through us. So we never feel truly alive. We just go from one accomplishment to the next: car, job, money, more money. And there does come a time in life where we realize that isn't what life's about.
Yeah. And two things. I think I'm always mindful of the phrase, we lead out of who we are. There's something about what is our own personal social history, our own autobiography, and how does that shape who we are today as a person and how we lead, for example. But we also coach. Those of us who are coaches, we coach out of who we are. So there's something about always returning to who am I? You said you work with men to help them develop or connect with their uniqueness. So there's something about that. And I'm also thinking too, I listened to a couple of your own podcast episodes, which are great listening, by the way, for those listening here today. And I was jotted down a few things that a couple of people said. Some of your guests, somebody said, most men would rather run a mile than talk about their feelings or feel their feelings. Somebody else said, it's really difficult. It's not easy for men to just deepen into their heart. And you're saying something similar today. And I'm thinking too, how different it is if a woman says those things about men than if or when a man says those things about men. Yeah, so not really a question, just it's very different when you say that as opposed to when I try and say that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I think how that's received is often related to where we felt safe growing up. Some men, for example, may have felt safe in the masculine growing up. Those same men probably repressed the feminine side. Some men would have felt safe around women growing up or around the feminine, and they might have suppressed what life told them is a man. So it all depends where safety lies. And for me, for many years in my life, I felt safer around men. I felt safer around the masculine. And it's only when I've, if you like, reclaimed the feminine parts of me that I'd repressed so much growing up that I feel more whole as a man. And now it's not that I don't identify with masculine, I don't identify with feminine, I just identify with being a more balanced man.
Yeah. I'm heading to this question way earlier than in this conversation than I thought I might, but let's go there. So that makes me wonder then about whether men need men-only spaces to cultivate a connection to feeling, for example, or to cultivate a connection of safety so they can connect with all of who they are, whether men's work really does matter or is better, inverted commas, if that's done in men-only spaces. And part of the reason I ask that is also because in the workshops that I've been running for years, way more women than men sign up. And I've checked the way I'm writing about the content, and I think it's fairly gender neutral. But yet there's something about a woman setting up a space to talk about love in organisations that definitely does not speak to or attract men. Would you say something about that, men-only spaces, and how men might think or feel when they see a space with love in it and it's run by a woman?
Yeah. If I relate that to my own journey, there was a time on this journey where I attended men-only events. That's where I was on my journey. That's what I got lots of value from. And to be in a men-only space and be witnessed by men in my fullness and be blessed by other men, it really lands in my nervous system as that fatherly blessing that maybe a lot of men lacked growing up. That there's something about being with another man, being with groups of men and being truly energetically blessed and seen and valued, that it's so powerful for our nervous system. However, on my journey now, in fact, I actively seek to do programs and attend events. And in therapy, my therapist is a woman. I've attended a number of mixed retreats in the last couple of years because that's where I'm at. I want the combination of men and women because I see the importance of men and women coming together. I think it depends on where a man is in his journey. But what I would say is a lot of men in step one would benefit from men-only events, but not everybody. For me, we've always got to lean into our edge. And if I feel comfortable around men, maybe my edge is spending more time with women. If I feel comfortable around women, maybe my edge is spending more time in men-only events, because the edge, the unknown, is where the newness lies. It's where growth lies. It's where evolution and potential lies. But I think, to summarize all that, I think we need more combinations. We need men-only events. We need mixed events. We need both.
Yeah, thank you, Craig. Let me chunk up a little. I want to pull on two threads now, and let me think of which one I'll start with. I want to ask you about, you've started to answer this already or speak to this already. When you work with men, what are the issues that people bring, that men bring? It's a question I'm asking everybody on this podcast series. It's something about how is the field of coaching changing? What are you seeing people, men, in your case, bring now that perhaps they weren't bringing some years ago? Let me start with that one. We'll go on to my second one in a bit. But yeah, what are you seeing emerging, perhaps, in the issues that people are bringing?
The clients I work with, they bring a lot of challenges, but really the one common denominator, and 100% of my clients are in intimate relationships with children. The common denominator is the recognition and the realization, often from feedback that's coming from their wife and kids, is that they have difficulty being present. So a lot of the clients that I attract find it hard to switch off. They find it hard to stop. You and I know that's because when you stop, you have to feel. But the good news is, in my world of coaching, in my sphere of influence, the men are inspirational. They have a huge desire to take that journey. They want to do the best. They've made that outer journey. They want to step up more for the kids and their wife. They want to rekindle the zest in their marriage. They really want to make an effort, and they dive in. They dive into the practices. They dive into the embodiment sessions. They dive into the breath. They dive into the meditation. They change the narrative around how they communicate with themselves. They have a better relationship with the telephone. They learn to feel slowly but surely. So that is the common denominator. Because one of the questions I ask a man on a discovery call, if we don't get to it, I would say, if your wife was here with me now, what would she say is most frustrating about you? And they all would say, I'm not present when I'm with her. I'm at home, but I'm not really at home. Or we have a date night, but I'm not really on the date night. So it's presence, it's being attuned, it's being in the feeling body, really, which is necessary for human connection. We know we can't connect with logic. We can only connect with the essence and the vibration and the intelligence of our body. But if our attention's been here for so many years, it's a slow process of retraining our attention to live from here. So a lack of presence.
Yeah. And with the men you work with, a desire to shift that, to do something about it.
Yeah, for sure. My job comes in then to support them, but also provide accountability. The other thing I want to mention here, Helena, is that, and it's around love. So I love my clients. I absolutely love them, and I create a relationship with them that has a bit of distance, but it's also one of love. I'm not a therapist who has a session and then I don't see them again until 3 weeks later and they can't have my telephone number. So I create a relationship with my clients. We have a session, they have my number. Some of my clients leave me voice notes every single morning. Some of my clients have accountability tasks where they've got to leave a loving message to themselves from their higher self every single morning, and I've got to hear that. So it's a love affair, really, with a little bit of distance, because they need to know that I love them and I really care about them. I guess that's what I believe is my point of difference with my clients and why a lot of them stay with me for a long time.
Oh, beautiful. Thanks for that glimpse into your practice. And I'm thinking the word intimacy comes up.
Yeah.
And intimacy and love are sometimes connected. We'll talk about how that is also problematic. But there's a real intimate, deeply human, deeply relational connection you have with your clients. Wow.
100%. Yeah. That's the difference. The attunement, the compassion, that is the seed of magic, really. Not all my models and my systems, just the attunement.
Yeah. You're really modeling being with them. So there's a huge being element, but you're also modeling what it means to be in a close, intimate relationship, albeit a paid coaching relationship. You're also really modeling deep and close connection with a huge dose of, I really care about you. More than that, I love you.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also, when you sent me the questions, there's a question about how do I see love in a coaching capacity? And for me, men don't always use the word love. For example, if you're my friend and I say to you, bro, I've got your back. It's really another way of saying, I love you, I'm here for you. But I see love in 3 stages. Okay, from a spiritual sense, we could say that love is our essence. We could say that love is everywhere. It's oneness. It moves through us if we're open to it. But on a individual to individual perspective, a coaching perspective, for me in the center is presence, attunement, connection, trust. And then the polarity of love, and when I'm working with clients, on both sides of that is on this side, there is support, playfulness, celebration, fun, joy. And on this side is challenge them, accountability, firmness, strength, and really let them know when they're not in integrity, they're not congruent with what they've said they're going to do. So for me, they are both sides of love. What's interesting is I actually give that talk in public speaking, but also if I work with teams. And if it's a men-only audience, I don't call it 2 sides, the polarity of love. I call it the polarity of brotherhood, or I might call it the polarity of culture or the polarity of teams. But really, it's love. We grew up watching all the romantic novels and we associate love, unfortunately, with the supportive side, the soft side, the gentle side. But it's really a combination of both. And that's what a lot of men were missing growing up, is that actually that loving, grounded, connected accountability.
Yeah, it's true that when we start to talk about love in an organizational context, it's really problematic and difficult because it's very easily and understandably associated with, well, sex, religion, but also romance and sentimental greetings cards.
Yeah.
And it isn't women's work. Obviously, love is men and women's work, but it comes to be felt as women's work. And it tends to be associated with, as you say, care and compassion and empathy and connection. And of course, it is those things. One of the things that came up in my original research when I said to people, I didn't define love. I said, what is love for you in organizations? And of course, the first bucket was compassion, connection, empathy, support, obviously, arguably. The second theme was listening. So to your point about presence, when I'm listened to, or when somebody gives me their full attention, that is a form of love. The third bucket, which surprised me, was accountability. Love is when somebody holds my feet to the fire, when they have the courage or enough love to give me a piece of difficult feedback, or when they tell me something isn't okay.
Yeah.
So there's your three things: deep presence, support, compassion, and accountability, hold my feet to the fire.
Yeah, I guess a simplified version of that is from attunement and presence, it's a yes or it's a no. It's both love, right? A yes and a no, if it comes from that place.
Yeah. What else equals love when we think about leaders, people working in an organizational context? What would you include in love in that domain?
I'm just thinking of one of my clients, and I often mention him on podcasts because it's such an inspiration. So one of my clients is the head coach of Wigan Rugby League team. His name's Matty Pete, and we've been working together for 3 years. And I'm just so inspired by him when I go into his organization and see how he is around the staff and the team. And he's modeling love through his actions. So he would be the first one to hold himself accountable. He would be the first one to admit a weakness. He would be the first one to say, I'm sorry. He would also be the first one to laugh, to crack a joke, to celebrate himself, to not take himself too seriously. And one thing worth mentioning here, it's not directly about love, but it is about love, and I'll explain why, is I often talk about the importance of having range as a leader. And what I mean by that is, if you want your organization to be playful, you really need to model playfulness. If you want your organization to be accountable, you need to model accountability. If you want your organization to be truly supportive, you need to model support. And all these different ways of expression, instead of turning up as a leader and thinking, well, this is me, it's my way or the highway. But in order to reclaim all those parts of yourself that we expressed as kids and then life told us it wasn't safe to express, it takes work. But for me, and my journey has been a journey of reclamation, to be honest. People talk about personal development, evolution. I think it's a journey of reclamation where I've reclaimed my playfulness. I've reclaimed my capacity to think in non-linear ways. I've reclaimed my capacity to be sensitive and soft and gentle. I've intensified my capacity to be stoic and masculine if I need to be. But the final thing to say on that is, it's all in the body. All repression, all restriction is actually in the body. So in order to reclaim all the wonderful parts of ourselves that we repressed growing up, it's a somatic journey. And for me, talking is only the first step. It's only the first step. We really have to explore more than ever before in coaching somatic practices, whether that is shadow work, psychodynamic role play, somatic meditation, somatic breath work, somatic movement, body work, somatic therapies, tantra, whatever that is. It's so critical to the future of expressing love in leadership. It's more than executive corporate coaching, much more than that.
Yeah. And the world of coaching is changing, I think. I've been saying this for a while, but we know it is, right? That more and more people are this will come out sounding wrong, but are less worried about where's the boundary between the coaching I do and therapy. And more coaches are being okay with, I'm not a therapist and I know where my boundaries are, but my work can still be therapeutic. And moving away from a Q&A type approach to coaching into much more kind of fluid and flowing and going deeper, shadow stuff, bodywork. Can you give us a feel, Craig, for the breadth and depth, the span really of what you might do with somebody in coaching? Yes, I'm sure there's a sitting down face to face with some great questions. What else is in your practice and how does that unlock love?
If you like, my signature one-to-one program is called the Midlife Intensive. So I designed it for guys in midlife that have been pursuing this way, but they've not found the answer they're looking for, and they want to really come inside of themselves and they want to prep for the next phase of their life. So I really created it for that type of man, and it lasts for about a month. There's a pretty detailed questionnaire. There's a Zoom connection session, and then we have a Zoom session where I share with him lots of preparation work that he's got to do. So some of the things he's got to do before he comes to see me are a life inventory where he looks at his life in 7-year blocks. And in each 7-year block, he has to look at the polarity of experience. And then there's some cleanup work after that in terms of what he needs to do from his past. And I also use something called the Clifton Strengths Assessment with guys. I also share with them an inventory that is 20 questions that assess how safe they are to their partners in relationship. And then they come to me for 3 days. So they hand their telephone into me. They're with me in Hebden Bridge for 3 days. They stay in an apartment 10 meters away from me. And I just take them through a 3-day process. The first foundation is deep relaxation, because there's no transformation without deep relaxation. We're not here to solve it with our minds. They arrive in the evening, we go for dinner, we have a meditation, and then day 1, day 2, day 3 is a process. Day 1 is the past. Day 2 is who they are now, what's driving them, what they're talented at, and what some of the challenges are in relationship. And day 3 is who they want to be 1 year from now, how they're going to get there, and then they leave with an action plan. And then we review it on a Zoom, so it lasts for about a month. But the integral part, or the somatic part, if you like, of that 3-day intensive with me involves out into nature. We use metaphors in nature. We use cold water. There's a lot of breath work, because that really gets guys into the body. So when I've established safety and they feel safe, I really do a lot of progressive intensive breath work. There might be some psychodynamic role play in that. There might be some gestalt where, for example, a guy came to me the other week. He wasn't kind to himself. So we got out on 4 imaginary chairs, his child, his teen, his 20-year-old and his 30-year-old, and he had to have a loving conversation with them. And meditation and stillness is a key component as well. So my approach is really holistic. So I have a toolbox and I do whatever is needed with that client. But as I get older as a coach, my work is less about talking and more about feeling in the body. I find that more and more. Even now, I did a session with a client this morning on Zoom before you, and he closed his eyes for 45 minutes and I just guided him. And I find when clients have felt that way of journeying and being coached that way, they want more of it. They want more of it instead of just talking at surface level about what's going on for them.
Thank you. And the word immersion comes up. That's a deeply immersive way of working, as well as holistic in all directions.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, lucky client, what a gift if you can find your way there, create the time, have the funds and that. But what a gift to a man that would be, I would say, and his family and those who work with him and perhaps for him.
Yeah.
And I love these conversations because each one offers me gifts. And I'm also thinking, I work somatically, I work in lots of creative ways. And this is making me think, how might I deepen my own practice to allow in, to bring in more of that? So thank you. That's beautiful for me.
Yeah.
Can I chunk us up a little? The world we are working in, leading in, trying to be in, is, the nicest way I can put it, is getting more and more difficult, arguably, getting trickier for us. I wonder if you'd say something about when you go to organizations, because I know you work with corporate teams as well, so you work with organizational systems or systems within organization. If you think of people leading in an organizational context and that organization trying to do their thing in a global context, what are you seeing? And why does love matter more than ever? If you think it does, but why might it matter more than ever? Why is love so important?
I think I'm lucky because 2 years ago, I wrote down on a piece of paper that I wanted to attract successful CEOs that wanted to be a bit more compassionate with themselves in order for them to be more compassionate with their teams. And then after a while, when they've developed trust with me, they would ask me to work with their senior leader teams or their emerging leader teams. And that's happening because the CEOs I work with are incredibly open, loving, compassionate, responsible, accountable. It's all about love. I've just been asked by one client to create a 12-month curriculum for them on leadership where we have an away day once a month. But it's all about love and it's all somatic. So they might come to me on a leadership program and it's all about attunement with each other. Simple as that. And the next workshop might be about sharing a piece of your history. And the next workshop might be about how to really listen to someone, how to ask them the right questions, non-verbal ways of expressing, presentation skills. It's all in the body. So that's the way I work. So every single workshop that I will do with him that's related to leadership is somatic, it's physical, it's in the body, it involves movement, it involves breath, it involves meditation, it involves connection practices with another person. It's all love through connection. But it's easier when it comes from the top, and the CEO is trying his best to model what he wants to see in his team.
I get the sense of your work really working at a foundational level, stirring the pot, really shifting things, creating foundational tectonic plate shifts in a personal system or a organizational system, so that you haven't said so that love can flow, but that creates more space for connection, including love. And I wondered, I was talking with Marie Quigley. I recorded one of these conversations with her last week, and she was talking about in her coaching how she contracts for love. So she very explicitly, in her intake work and in her conversations and in sharing her philosophy of coaching, she fronts love. She begins with love. And I wonder what your experience was, or what you do around your choices about being explicit about the word love in organizations. Should we push it? Should we try and really put the word love in there? Does it matter if we don't, if we use other words? What's your thinking on that?
I don't know if it matters if we don't. And again, I'm just thinking about my journey. So 16 years ago, when I'm on this journey of self-discovery and it's really intense, I was still consulting in professional rugby because that's my background. I worked full-time in professional rugby at the highest level, and I've actually had a toe in that sport since, but on a lesser level. I used to consult for World Rugby, the governing body, for 14 years. And what I'm trying to get to is I was terrified of using the word love. I was absolutely terrified, and I'd mask it with different words. But then now it's just a word for me because of my own journey. But I'm still compassionate towards the audience. And while I don't explicitly talk about love or teach modules or workshops about love, it's in my language. I might give an example and I would say, hey guys, I just give you a download of what's going to happen there and what we're going to work with. But hey, it's all about love at the end of the day. Let's not beat around the bush. It's all about love. So I'm confident enough to say that and drip that in. Do we need to throw the word around more often? I don't think it's a game changer if we don't. But it does feel good for me to say the word love in those organizations and to see that it's received without ridicule or shame. I do believe the word will be used more as individuals open more to the essence of who they really are.
Nice. Thank you. And there's something about just normalizing the word, not pushing it, but using it when it feels right, not holding back, using it when it feels right to just show people it's like other emotions. It has a name, it can be used, it's valid, we all feel it.
Yeah.
There are a couple of other words like that for me too in my work. One is fear. Sometimes I'll name fear. There might be fear in this system. Who feels scared here?
Yeah.
And again, there's something about naming that word gives permission for people to say, okay, I am terrified. And, oh, it seems to be okay that I feel like that. Trauma is another word. It's a big word these days. But again, some way of bringing that into the room and recognizing that it's part of the human experience to know love, to know fear, to know trauma, right? There's something about just how do we as coaches find a way to be okay with all of these words.
Yeah, love is such an abstract term, isn't it? The word is such an abstract term, and
isn't it?
We could break it down into components. Something that I am seeing in some of my clients' business values is the word connection. It comes up all the time, all the time. In fact, there's a couple of my clients right now, and it's all about that. That is their overriding company value, connection, which is a move in the right direction.
Again, when I look at the world that we are stepping towards creating for ourselves, division and disconnection certainly seems to be a theme. So the more we can all focus on connection, holding hands, not othering, whatever language you want to give it, the better. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Craig, we're coming to the end of our time together, and I'm wondering, what would you have liked me to ask you that I haven't? So yeah, what have you not talked about that you were really maybe hoping to? Definitely some space for that.
Yeah, I think what I'd like to end on is this domain of relational presence, especially where men are concerned. I grew up in a society, in a town with a family, and I was taught by what I saw through the people around me, the adults around me, the TV screen. I was taught that the domain of a man is to protect, to provide, to be the breadwinner, to be tough, to be stoic, to be linear, to play sport, to suppress emotion, to build something, to be financially successful. And the relational stuff took a back seat because of that. So I've had difficulties in intimate relationships, people pleasing, control, domination, getting triggered, getting defensive. And it's only when I've, if you like, realized that and recognized that and really lent into, I need to really learn about relationships. And what is it in me that relates? It's not my story in my head. It's my body. It's my heart. It's my gut. It's my breath. It's my eyes. It's my words. It's my hands. It's a physical, it's a somatic thing, this thing we call relationship. It's nervous system regulation. It's only when I've really gone into all that side of it that I realize that, wow, how my body feels in relationship, especially intimate relationships, is a reflection of my own growth. I used to feel activated all the time around my older brother. Now I'm not. I'm with him. I'm not activated. I used to feel activated around my mother. When I see her now, I'm not. I'm not activated. Of course, it could come up within intimate lover-type relationships, but really my barometer of growth as a man is to be able to stay grounded, available, connected, vertical, and soft in that interface of we disagree, I'm disappointed, I've got something to say to you, we have a difference of opinion. And that for me is relational presence. And nobody taught us how to do that growing up. Women have done it for thousands of years. We've not. So that is really a big component of my new book, which is coming out before Christmas. I've just finished the first draft and I'm just going through each chapter right now. And we haven't got a title yet, but it's going to be around the redefinition of masculine leadership. And really the shift is into that world of relational presence, which I was taught is the world of women and it's the world of the feminine. And what I've realized as well, and this is a really important piece of information for men, is if you delve into this non-linear world of the feminine, which you can't control, you've just got to sort of surrender to, you do not lose your masculinity. I am softer than ever before. I can move my body in non-linear ways like never before. I care less about what people think. I'm much more compassionate, but I've not lost my sharp masculine edge. In fact, it's probably intensified and I just feel like I'm a lot more whole than I used to be, even though I've got a lot of work to still do. So yeah, that relational presence piece is huge. And huge for parents as well and what they model to the children.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to try and summarize that. That's beautiful and important. Lovers, presence, connection, relational presence.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
But it starts with a man's relationship to himself. If he loves who he is, if he's taught, he's kind to himself, if he writes love letters to himself, if he accepts himself the way he is, if he doesn't give himself a hard time, if he doesn't whip himself, then he will be like that in relationship to others. If he whips himself and beats himself up, he'll do the same to others.
My sense is that there will be men and women listening to what you've just described, thinking that is my work. So for many women, this is our work too, to find that relational presence, because we also, some of us, will have been brought up with unhelpful ways of being that get in the way of us being relationally present too. It's work for everyone. Craig, thank you so much. I did not know there was a book coming, and I'm delighted to hear there is. So I'm sure many of us will be watching with interest for when that comes out. And how can people find you, connect with you, get in touch with you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Craig White. I have a website, craigwhitementoring.com. I also have an Instagram, Craig White Mentoring, and I have a YouTube channel. It's called Craig White Dare to Be Different, with lots of videos and all my podcast. My podcast is actually called Dare to Be Different. And if you want to sign up to my email on the website, we send a very informative email out every week about male leadership.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I have a feeling you will be hearing from lots of people listening.
Thank you so much. It's great to reconnect with you.
Yeah, likewise. I have a very strong memory of how and where and why we connected, and that has always stayed with me. And it's been really fabulous to see you again today.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much.
Speak again soon, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to another podcast by the Association for Coaching. For over 20 years, our purpose has been to inspire and champion coaching excellence, to advance the coaching profession, and to make a sustainable difference to individuals, organisations, and society. To find out more about the AC and our member benefits, follow us on LinkedIn, or visit our webpage at associationforcoaching.com. There you can explore our digital learning hub and enjoy our extensive library of on-demand webinars, interviews, podcasts, and a portfolio of live events featuring thought leadership, tools and models, and the latest industry trends to help you develop your coaching expertise.